How's it going, everybody? Welcome back, and as promised, I wanted to take a look at the newly revamped Suppressor, the agency choke, for the shotguns from Cold War, and on top of that, I wanted to compare the two suppressors we have to use on these shotguns, which are the normal sound suppressor and then the agency choke. Now, before we compare the two, I do want to go over the agency choke first, since it recently got an update to its effects, and in case you didn't know, we got an update that reverted the agency suppressors for most guns back to how they were before Season 2. This did include shotguns, and with this update, the agency choke now has 4 different supposed pros. Now, it says that it helps with range, recoil control, bullet velocity, again for a shotgun that's kind of weird, and sound suppression. But before I get into all that though, the big question here is, does it really increase range? And as you probably can guess, no, it doesn't. Even though it says it does, it really doesn't. And in fact, it actually hurts range. Yeah, so to be fair, it does hurt range less than what it did before the update, with only a 6% decrease as opposed to 17%. So for, let's say, the Howler, for example, its base max damage range is about 3.4 meters. With the new agency choke, it cuts that range down to about 3.2 as opposed to the 2.8 it used to have. Hooray, I guess? I mean, I'm pretty bummed it doesn't help range, because this would have made the Cold War shotguns the only shotguns in Warzone to have 3 separate attachments that can help with range individually. That would have been awesome, but that would have been too good to be true, I guess. And it's just really a big old sigh for me for that one, because it's such a blatant mislabel. And that was kind of the main reason I wanted to use it, was for that extra little bit of damage range. The other pros besides suppression is bullet velocity, which is again pointless for a shotgun, but you know, let's just see if it actually does anything, just to test it. Let's see for shits and giggles, right? And hey, it seems like it actually kind of does something. It's not by much, it's actually a pretty small difference, and it's certainly not enough to use the attachment just for this. And the difference is just pretty minor, but in case you don't get why this is just kind of irrelevant for a shotgun is supposed to be used up close, right? Past a certain point in game, pellets literally just disappear. Most of the time, these ranges you find yourself using a shotgun in, you're going to be up close, and shotguns already have a super fast bullet velocity, so they already kind of feel like a hit scan weapon, so you never really have to lead your shots like if you're sniping from like 200 meters away or something. If shotguns had slow travel time like shotgun slugs used to in the game, then maybe this would be more useful, but having a pro of faster bullet velocity is just so weird and kind of unnecessary and just useless. If you happen to find a decent or good application for it, please let me know in the comments, because it feels like they just kind of threw this on here just to make the attachment look good because of all the pros it has. Besides that, it does say it also helps recoil control, and when I checked that out, not really. It doesn't seem to help much at all, really, or it's just negligible. I mean, you'd think it helped a street sweeper or something, but no, it doesn't. And again, with a shotgun, unless it's like a fully automatic cannon, like recoil isn't that needed on these guns. So yet again, it's kind of a throwaway perk to the attachment. The only shotgun I ever really had trouble with recoil was the VLK Rogue, because it's like a pump action with a pretty fast fire rate. And you can notice it can get a little out of control, especially if you put no stock on it. It gets a little wild at times. But that's really it for this attachment. There's nothing else really worth noting, except that it's just not that great of an attachment when you actually see what it does. Yeah, all those little green pluses make it look good, and it helps suppress your shots, but you're not getting much else. It does hurt range less than the normal suppressor now, though, so I guess that's a perk, but it's really not by much. So now I want to compare the two. Now, first off, the biggest plus of the agency choke is it hurts your range less than the normal suppressor. Like I said, the normal suppressor hurts range by about 12%, whereas the agency choke only hurts it by 6%. So that's a nice little perk for what you get, I guess. Now, on the flip side, it does seem like the agency choke does take a penalty to its aim down sights time. It's about 2 frames slower than the base gun and the normal suppressor, which those two have the same aim down sights time, which is about 19 frames or so. So if you really need to aim down sights with a shotgun, that's kind of debatable, but usually you want to have a good aim down sight speed in case the enemy is a little further out, so you can get some more pellets on target with the condensed spread. Now, I checked to see if either attachment hurt movement speed, and it seems like they both don't, and they're kind of on par with the base sprint speed. So if you're still with me, you're probably confused as to what attachment you should use in this case, since they're both pretty similar. And really, there is no clear-cut winner. They both hurt range, one worse than the other, but it loses aim down sight speed with the choke specifically. Now, considering most players probably don't aim down sights much with shotguns, I would say that the general consensus is that the agency choke, despite its brokenness and how the pros don't really do what they say they do, is probably the way to go. If you just cannot for the life of you handle that slightly slower aim down sights time, then you can use the normal suppressor, but it does hurt range a little bit more. Like I said, there is no super defined clear-cut winner, but I'm just going to recommend the agency choke for most builds if you're trying to run a suppressed shotgun. Again, really only for the minor penalty to range, and that's pretty much it. Sadly, I'm just kind of at a point where I come to expect this sort of thing where attachments don't work, but in the end, I still somehow end up being disappointed. And despite finding these things, I'm still a relatively small channel, so getting the word out about these sort of things is pretty difficult, and it often gets drowned out by other issues or just not even seen. I usually tag devs on Twitter. If you're not following my Twitter, by the way, go do that. So I'm trying to spread the word, but I also think the priority is more towards like meta weapons as opposed to shotguns, which I understand. I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's what I feel like. And I just hope one day we get some accurate descriptions for the guns, or at least pros that do what they say they do and don't just literally lie to our faces. And take out bullet velocity for pros as a shotgun. Just please do it. It's just, come on. And that just about does it for everything I wanted to cover. It's not going to be a super long video. It's a little bit shorter than usual. There's just not a lot to go over with these particular shotguns and the suppressors. They just don't really do that much. There's nothing super crazy about them. So I just want to keep it short and sweet for you guys. And let me know in the comments below, do you think that this suppressor is actually pretty good, the agency choke? Do you prefer the normal suppressor? And are you surprised that the attachments don't do what they say they do? And with all that being said and out of the way, I want to wish you all a happy day/night, and I'll see you in the next video.